So I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'm going to ask our executive coordinator, Grant Bevo, to please do the roll call before we begin.
Good morning, everyone. Starting our roll call with Member Beatty.
Hello, I'm here.
Member Brady.
I saw him earlier. His window's open. He's just not sitting at his desk right now.
Good enough. Okay. Member Clark.
There he goes.
And I'm told
yes, he's here.
I'm told Member Kuhn Peterson may be late, but I do see a call-in user as well. Member Kuhn Peterson, are you there? Okay, we'll try back later. Member Cridland.
Present.
Member Fior.
Good morning.
Member Foster.
Present.
Member Halinga.
Here.
Member Hewson.
Present.
Member Ingrao.
Here.
Member Kwal.
Here.
Member McKenzie. I know
he is here. He's zipped in and out again.
All right. Member Metcalf.
I'm here.
Okay. Member Rapley.
I saw him earlier as well.
I
probably...
just went off all of a sudden.
There you are. Perfect.
Bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
I understand Member Shurton is not in attendance. Member Shurton, are you there? He is not. Member Smith? Member Smith? Right. I understand Member Steele will be late. Is there any chance that he's here and logged in now?
Not unless the bridge is unhooked.
Member Woodhouse? I see him there.
I see him.
And Member Wright?
Here.
And I saw. Perfect.
Okay, and of course we have Chair Johnson.
Thank you very much, sir. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. The Niagara Peninsula watershed is located on traditional territories of Indigenous peoples dating back countless generations. We want to show our respect for their contributions and recognize the role treaty making in what is now Ontario. May I ask everybody please to mute yourselves? There's a lot of feedback when we have more than 2 or 3 microphones on. Also, just to review that when we call the vote, I'll ask for who's opposed, and we'll go from there. If there's a few people that are opposed, then we will do a roll call to make sure we counted the vote accurately. So first, I'm going to ask for approval of agenda. I understand we're going to do a bit of a change in the order of business, by the way, to start the meeting with a year in review video. This is item 5. We're going to put it up right after the approval of the minutes. So just to start us off with a really nice, good news story. So approval of the agenda, it is moved by Member Beatty and seconded by Member Brady to approve the agenda as amended. Any opposition? Seeing and hearing none, it is moved. Are there any declarations of interest at this time? Seeing nobody waving, everybody good. Thank you. If you decide later on you find out that you may be in a conflict of interest, please raise your hand at that time and we will record it appropriately. So now we're moving on to the approval of the minutes. It's moved by Member Clark and seconded by Member Cridland to approve the minutes of February the 18th, 2021 and the minutes of the full authority closed session meeting February 18th, 2021. Are there anyone opposed to approving those minutes? No, thank you. So those are moved. So now we're going to move on to a video, and I had my first shot at looking at it last night, and I'll tell you, I was absolutely amazed. My husband actually, I forced him to sit down and watch it. He said, I had no idea the NPCA does all this. So I'm really pleased to share with you the NPCA's 2020 year in review video to the members this morning. As we all know, last year had many challenges, but today we can look back and have a sense of pride against all odds. The NPCA was able to complete a tremendous amount of work, and it's thanks to the collaborative efforts of so many people and organizations. While this video highlights some of the NPCA greatest successes from 2020, we would not have been able to complete this important work without help. So at this time, I'd like to thank the hardworking and dedicated staff at the NPCA for their tremendous work ethic and passion for the environment, all of our municipal partners for their support, our partners in conservation, whether they be corporate, nonprofit, or community-based, and not to mention the thousands of individuals who further do their So that's a good question. Is it going to be on the website, Chandra? Yes, I'm seeing shaking of heads, Member Kuhn Peterson. You can't see that on your phone, but there was a shaking of the head. Thank you very much. So are there any questions or comments before we move on? Seeing none, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Member Beatty, and then I have Member Houston.
The video is very nice, very well done, informative, posted on the website. But last year, we created an annual report. It's this one. Probably the best document that this organization has created since I've been here. Are we going to get a 2020 annual report? Or are we just going to show a nice video?
CAO Sharma.
Through you, Madam Chair, the video is a celebration of our successes in the past year. It does not replace the annual report. The annual report will be published, and we are hoping to launch it at the AGM or before that, but that's the plan.
So we can expect the annual report in April, May?
We were aiming for the AGM, but we can certainly look into if we can publish it earlier than that. It also dependent on the audit, when the audit is done, because the financial information is part of the annual report. So we are timing it accordingly. And I can promise you the annual report will be as good as the one that you saw or better.
I sincerely hope so, because it's an excellent document. It is a model that we should follow. The video is nice. It's pretty. It's nice. You can put it on the website. Everything's lovely. People may even watch it. I doubt it, but people may watch it. And you take that with the report that is in here somewhere. Where was it? The report on the communications group. 7A. If you take the video and the report on the communications group, you almost think we're in the communications business. We're not in the communications business. We're in the conservation business. And it's all, 25 pages to tell me how good the communications group is should take up maybe 2 or 3 pages. So let's get back to focusing on the businesses that we have. And I hope the annual report will reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Member Houston.
I thought the video was really well done. I think that people will appreciate it and watch it. So I'm happy it's going to be online because I would love to share it. And especially in regards to, the uptick we saw this year in terms of our sites being utilized. I think that, it reflects the value that people are now realizing that our NPCA offers them, and what that contributes to their healthy lifestyle and mental wellness. So anyway, I just wanted to say congratulations. It's a great video and it's very well done.
Thank you. And I now have Member Woodhouse.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I couldn't disagree more, sadly, in terms of the communication. I think that's the most critical part of what we do. If we don't have the proper message out there conveying to people what's actually happening here, I think that it's a huge mistake. And it almost puts us, by doing this, it opens up a couple levels of communication. I agree with the annual report. We do that. Everybody does that. And people that are real keeners will get into that. But most people will look at that video and say, hey, I'm comfortable with what's happening here. So congratulations. In my opinion, it was well worth the effort. And there wasn't enough emphasis on me, unfortunately, but it's just a joke. But anyway, congratulations. I think it's well done and absolutely necessary. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I only had Member Woodhouse as being the last comment. Okay, thank you. So it's been moved by Member Kuhn-Peterson and seconded by Member Fior to receive the video for the record. Any opposition? Seeing none, thank you very much, folks. So let's go back. And I have to forewarn you, the agenda changed somewhat for the correspondence, so I may screw up a little bit, so bear with me. I believe the first correspondence is dated March the 1st, 2021 from the City of St. Catharines, City Clerk Bonnie Mystico Dunk. This is regarding the stormwater fees financing study to receive. So right now I have Member Foster, seconded by Member Halinga to receive. Member Brady, please.
Sorry, Diane, I know your hand was up first.
Oh, sorry,
my
Diana.
question-
Okay.
It's all right. My only question is, where is it that St. Catharines is looking for funding from? Maybe one of our staff could give me an idea, because I'm certainly hopeful they're not looking for funding from the Conservation Authority.
Thank you. And I see that Member Steele is with us today. Glad that the bridge made it all the way up to the top. So CAO Sharma, can you please respond?
Madam Chair, no, I don't think there is an expectation from the municipality. What this letter is stating is that Conservation Authority works with the city on stormwater financing. The fees are basically charged based on the impervious area to the users, the commercial and private sector users or residential users. That's how the fees are collected. Conservation Authority can help the municipalities in finding opportunities for green infrastructure, which can act as a credit to the user. So there is a whole formula out there. Many municipalities have done that in Ontario: London, Aurora, Kitchener, Waterloo, Richmond Hill, Markham, Hamilton, I think also, correct me if I'm wrong. So it is a widely accepted approach, and municipalities are implementing it right now. So that's where St. Catharines is going. I'm really pleased that the city is taking on this progressive work. Our water resources manager, Steve Miller, will be our representative on this committee. He's also helping Niagara Region's new stormwater management policy document. So we'll be working closely with the city to see how Conservation Authority can work together. And there may be some funding to implement more green infrastructure solutions across the city through this initiative.
Thank you. Member Brady, you still have the floor.
Okay, I agree that the idea of a study is good, and I agree that the idea of green infrastructure is good. But when I read what the city sent, I got the distinct impression that they were looking for funding sources. Are they looking for funding sources from the federal government, the provincial government? Where is this going to end up ultimately, or is it too early to find that out until the study is completed?
Through you, Chair, Member Brady, you're correct. It's too early for us, and that's the City of St. Catharines initiative. They'll be looking for funding to implement or undertake the study, and NPCA will just participate.
Member Brady, we're good? Okay, Member Houston.
Thank you, Chair. So in looking at the wording here, it does specifically request that the board and staff explore potential partnership opportunities. And it sounds like that's something that we can easily provide. Is that correct, based on your feedback to the CA?
Chandra?
That's correct, Chair Johnson.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chair, they've also asked if we could consider incorporating this into our strategic plan. So I'm going to ask that we refer that to the strategic planning committee for consideration. And I think it would be nice to perhaps have a motion of support for the opportunity to partnership on or partnerships with the municipality on these issues. Would that be appropriate?
It's coming out of this discussion. Yes, it is appropriate. We just need a seconder to move that motion to direct this to the strategic plan. And I see Member Fiore's hand shot up really quickly, so she'll be your seconder. So we have a motion on the floor, please, folks. And this is for the potential partnership between NPCA and the municipality. And it's moved and seconded accordingly. Any comments, Member Clark, on the motion, please?
Thank you, Chair. So on the motion, the purpose of the study is to establish what types of fees would be for stormwater. Would we, as a Conservation Authority share in those fee allocations if we're participating in this process? Cognizant that the province is never going to increase our budget, so anywhere we can find additional fees might be helpful, or revenue, I should say. Just a question, Madam Chair.
CAO Sharma?
To you, Madam Chair, it will be really premature for me to speak to the outcomes, but I can tell you from my experience that Conservation Authority generally do not directly share the revenues from stormwater fee, but how they can help as a service provider to the municipality in implementing solutions on site with the community, either on residential or commercial properties or other public lands. Also, Conservation Authority is a technical partner, so we can provide input on the study itself.
Member Clark?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And we still have a motion on the floor. Any other comments or questions? Member McKenzie, Vice Chair McKenzie, please. You're muted.
Thank you, Chair
Okay.
Johnson. This communication from the City of St. Catharines, is this the first time we have received or seen this kind of initiative from a municipality in Niagara? This is a question for you to staff.
Okay, allow that question, but we've got a motion on the floor right now, but it's pretty pertinent to what the motion's relying on. CAO Sharma?
That's correct, Madam Chair. This is the first time.
Thank you. Member McKenzie?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Member Beatty. Member Fiore is next.
Yes, could you read the motion again, please?
I'm going to go back to the mover. Member Hewson.
Thank you. So the motion was to support in principle a partnership, potential partnership opportunities on storm water fees and credit programs with municipalities.
Between the NPCA and the municipality. Member Beatty?
So that motion would cover all municipalities, or in this particular case, it's only St. Catharines that is asking, isn't it? Should the motion not be for St. Catharines, or do you want a blanket motion for every municipality?
Member Hewson?
I based it off of the wording that was requested specifically through St. Catharines. I guess if there's an objection, I would consider it a friendly amendment to narrow it down.
Member Beatty?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out what we're voting on. Are we voting on a motion that applies to all the municipalities of the watershed, or are we voting on a motion that applies to the one who requested it, and that would be St. Catharines?
That was the intent of the original motion, was to support the letter that's coming forward asking for that potential partnership. So Member Hewson is, yeah.
The motion should say St. Catharines.
Okay.
I can take that as a friendly amendment.
Okay, so we make sure we put the City of St. Catharines in there, and I've got Member Fiore, please, on the motion.
Thank you. Would it be then appropriate, is it appropriate to say St. Catharines specifically in the support, but then identify or make a comment on the encouragement for other municipalities that if other municipalities explore this, that we would want to explore partnerships with them as well. So it's not limiting it to St. Catharines. We're supporting St. Catharines, but we also want to encourage all municipalities to consider this. I don't know if there's something.
I'm of the ilk that we don't want to complicate things too much. This is a request that came in. I think we should deal with that directly, and then maybe ask staff or further conversations to hook up with everyone else. I think this sets precedents as well. Maybe not, but it opens the doorway for anybody else, any of the other municipalities as well. So, are you okay with that, Member Fiore? Okay, thank you. Second time speaker. Before we go to second time speaker, any other first time speakers? Member Kaywall.
Thank you. I thought the mover mentioned something about referring it to the Strategic Planning Committee or something about the strategy, but I didn't hear that included in the motion. So could you just clarify that part for me?
Good question. Member Hewson? You did make that comment, but.
Yes, Chair, I did request that. I was hoping that could be received as staff direction. I don't know
Yeah.
if it needs to be, maybe the staff can comment if it needs to be incorporated into the motion, but I didn't think that it would.
Yeah, and let's keep them separate too. That's my thought as well. Member Kaywall? Perfect. Thank you. Thumb up. Okay. No other first-time speakers. I'm going to go to second-time speaker, Member Brady.
Thank you. Member Kaywall's question was my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the members, the motion is on the floor to support the correspondence that's coming in for potential partnerships with the City of St. Catharines. Are there any opposition? Seeing none, thank you very much. It's carried. Thank you, Member Houston. So now we're going to receive the correspondence, and it is received by, let's see if I get this, I think I already put it down as Member Foster, Member Halinga. Any opposition to receiving that correspondence with the amended motion with it? Seeing none, thank you. We're moving on now to 4B.
I have a question, Madam
sorry?
Chairman. I have a
I didn't see
question on
you.
the correspondence.
Go ahead. On correspondence as a whole?
It's a question of curiosity, really. And I don't expect an in-depth answer, but as I read through the correspondence, I see that Niagara, and we're 2 years into the term, and I call your attention to 4B, the last page. I find it interesting that the Niagara senior staff are all acting manager, acting commissioner, acting chief administrative, acting community and long-range planning. Just a question of the members of council, how are you getting away with 2 years of acting position?
Okay, and I appreciate the question, but we can.
Question.
Okay, that's great, but we're dealing.
Time, but if they could send me an email explaining
that would be great.
The strategy, because it's pretty good strategy.
Yeah, no, that's great. So let's move on to correspondence from all the acting people at the senior management at Niagara.
You can always learn.
Thank you, everybody. Correspondence dated March 3rd, 2021 from the Regional Municipality of Niagara, Regional Clerk Anne-Marie Norio. This is regarding the Niagara official plan process and local municipality conformity. This is to receive. So I have Member Houston, seconded by Member Hungreo, to receive that correspondence. Any questions or concerns or any oppositions? Seeing none, thank you. It's been moved. So now we move on to 4C, correspondence dated March 3rd, 2021 from the Regional Municipality of Niagara, Regional Clerk Anne-Marie Norio, and this is the Natural Environment Work Program. This is the second point of engagement, and it's to receive. And I've got Member Kaywall, seconded by Vice Chair McKenzie. Any questions, comments, any opposition to receive it? Seeing none, thank you. So that's been moved. Now we're on to 4D. This is correspondence dated March 3rd, 2021 from the Regional Municipality of Niagara, Regional Clerk Anne-Marie Norio. And this is a review of options for the South Niagara Aquifer. And it's been moved by Member Metcalf, seconded by Member Rapley. Are there any questions, concerns, or opposition to receive it? Seeing none, thank you. So now we're on to 4E.
Can I make some?
I'm sorry, Member Halinga? Actually, Member Halinga, you're cutting in and out really badly. If you'd shut off your video, that'd probably be best. And everybody else, could you please mute yourselves? I'm hearing a lot of background music. Go ahead, Member Halinga.
Okay, I have a very unstable network this morning.
Yeah, we all understand.
This is an initiative that came from the city of Port Colborne.
Okay.
Am I still coming through?
You are actually, sir. Continue.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay. First, I want to thank staff from the NPCA because I asked some of these questions quite a while ago.
Member Halinga, now you're really cutting in and out badly. Member Halinga, you're cutting in and out really badly. We didn't hear anything you just said, every third word.
Maybe a member can explain why.
I'm sorry, member who?
Okay, I'll leave that. Thanks.
I'm so sorry, Member Halinga. This is one of the terrible things that's happening with there's goods and bads to this, and this is definitely one of the bad parts of this meeting. And when your broadband is setting up again, I think that this committee would be very receptive to hearing your comments, even if it's afterwards, after we receive this correspondence. So moved by Member Metcalf and seconded by Member Rapley. And for 4D, any opposition? Seeing none, thank you. So now we're on to 4E. This is correspondence dated March 8, 2021 from the City of St. Catharines, City Clerk Bonnie Nistico Dunk. I'm so sorry, Bonnie. This is regarding the air and water monitoring results at 282 and 285 Ontario Street. I believe this is the former GM plant. I believe it's still owned by the GM. So are there any, I've got right now, just to put this on the table, I've got Member Steele, seconded by Member Woodhouse to receive it, but I believe we have some questions regarding this. So who would like to, is this the one that everybody would like to comment on? Am I wrong?
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
We have staff from St. Catharines and the director here, if there are any questions. And we also have Steve Miller, our senior manager, and his staff to answer any questions related to this.
Thank you, CAO Sharma, for being very prepared. It's much appreciated. Member Hewson, go ahead.
Well, since we have guests with us,
Danish and coffee in the other room.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I was curious. I did notice this was prompted as a result of the city requesting the ministry to do the testing specifically, and I was just curious. Is this not something that the ministry would regularly test, or do we regularly test? I'm just wondering, does the municipality have to request the ministry, the environment, to come in and do the testing, or is somebody doing this testing all along?
CAO Sharma, who would you like to direct that to?
Direct that to Steve.
Thank
Miller.
you. Steve Miller, are you online? There you are. I hear you.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Through you, Madam Chair, for a site-specific issue dealing with contaminants, the MOE and the municipality typically deal with it. I would, in this particular case, what happened and when it happened, I would defer to our guest from the City of St. Catharines.
Thank you. And CAO Sharma, would you like to introduce our guest, please?
I can't see her on the screen. Oh, Tammy is here. Hello, Tammy. She's the director of infrastructure. Tammy, is that correct?
Good morning, CAO Sharma, as well as the chair, and through you to the board. My name is Tammy Kate, and I'm the Director of Planning and Building Services for the City of St. Catharines. The properties that are the subject of the correspondence you received, so 282 and 285 Ontario Street, are for the former GM property, but they are now owned by Bayshore and have been for several years. Due to resident complaints and concerns in the area over the state of the property for the past several years, the city on the residents' behalf put in a request to the MOE to undertake surface water testing results along 12 Mile Creek, as well as air particulate testing in downwind and upwind locations from the site. The Ministry of Environment, Conservation Parks did undertake those works. They took them over multiple months and have provided Council with the presentation that was attached to the agenda that we have shared with you today. So I believe that that answers your questions. If you have anything else, happy to help.
Thank you. Member Houston, you still have the floor. No, you're muted, ma'am. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. So actually my question was whether the ministry has to be prompted to do this type of testing or if it happens at some type of regular frequency and by whom.
Through the chair to the membership, it's typically that it's requested of the MOE to come in when a site is not active. When a site is active, the MOE typically monitors the activities that are being undertaken on site with regards to specific policies and procedures and records of site conditions and things like that. But in this case, because there hasn't been any activity on the site in a couple of years, and residents were concerned about potential impacts from that, we called and asked the MOE to undertake this work. It's not part of their regular programming.
Okay.
Thank you, Member Houston.
I'm good. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Member Woodhouse.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question through you to Tammy, if I could. In terms of the Ministry of the Environment and previous, I'm assuming you did a number of boreholes, you did a number of testing on the perimeter of the property as well as on the property directly. What level of environmental assessments have been done on that property?
Tammy?
Through the chair, at this time, the city has not undertaken any of those works, and neither has the Ministry of the Environment. Right now, it's not part of our authority to walk onto private property and start undertaking bore testing. The MOE's scope of work in this regard was for air particulate off-site, as well as surface water contamination off-site.
Member Woodhouse.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay.
No, I was just coming back to you, sir.
Yes, okay, thank you. My concern is around the whole issue of migration of buried contaminants. I mean, that site's been there for over 100 years, and at the bottom is a 12-mile creek, and I'd be a little concerned about any migration that's taken place over that century that's actually entering the 12-mile creek basin. And so, but you're saying that none of that testing's been done to date.
Through the chair, at this time, no, it has not. So we share the concern that there is the potential for contamination to be leaving the property, which is why we've had the MOE undertake the air particulate testing to see if there is any airborne contaminants leaving the property. And the MOE has also undertaken surface water testing to see if surface water contamination from the site is contributing to contamination in 12-Mile Creek. So that work has been done. With it being a brownfield site, however, there is no legal requirement to force this type of on-site testing to be undertaken. The trigger for that will be when the site is subject to a redevelopment and a change of use from the heavy industrial use to more sensitive uses, and that will be captured through the record of site condition process and any risk mitigation that comes through that. So at such time that the property is going through land use policy changes to change the land use to more sensitive use, that will be the time that those environmental on-site studies are required to determine the specific areas of contamination and what the mitigation factors will be, whether it's through risk assessments, removals, or even cap in place. So that work is yet to be done. We are hopeful that that work will start to be undertaken this year and next year.
Thank you, Member Woodhouse.
Thank you. I understand the process. I understand, what's required once a proposal is brought forward. I guess, and I understand the levels that are required for brownfield redevelopment. But my concern is around what's migrating not on the surface, but what is migrating over a century below ground that obviously is going to go into that 12-Mile Creek Basin. But what you're saying is there's no interest at all to make a determination if in fact any of that's happened.
Tammy?
I don't mean to be abrupt, but
Through the chair to the member, I have not said that there's no interest to undertake that work. I'm saying that it is part of a work schedule that will begin later this year.
Thank you. Member Woodhouse.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I have Member Cridland, then Member Brady, but Member Brady's been waving his hands. I don't know if you were canceling or were you asking? Okay, thank you, Member Cridland.
Thank you, through you, Chair. This is a slightly different, not specific, obviously, to St. Catharines, so probably through you to the Chair. I noticed when I look at the correspondence that we've received, there's two really significant partnerships that we've recently done with St. Catharines. So mine's more general. As you know, we build capacity, it looks like it's going to be used up very, very quickly. So we got through 2020, because of, it being peculiar, but if all municipalities start to see the great work we're able to do and we can do to help them, how are we going to manage, or is there going to be a process, or maybe staff can come back with, how we will be ranking these and how we'll be offering and providing these services in the future. So just a comment really in light of these two great examples of the work that the Conservation Authority is doing. Maybe just put that on the table. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So what we'll do is we'll finish off with this correspondence first, and then we can talk about operations after. Thank you very much for that comment. Any other questions for our regional staff that are available right now? Vice Chair McKenzie, and then I have Member Steele, then Member Rapley. Okay, so go ahead, Vice Chair.
Chair Johnson, my question is not for our guest, but I would like to make a comment generally to this affair, to this matter, after the questions to our guests are finished. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll come back to you. And we have Member Steele.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is to our CAO, so I'll wait for that.
Okay, thank you. And Member Rapley, any questions for Tammy? I'm sorry, I didn't write down your title, so we're very informal here, just for this morning. My apologies.
Thank you, Chair Johnson. It's Tammy Kitay, Kitay.
It's your title I was looking for.
Director of Planning and Building Services.
Thank you, Director. Thank you. So, Member Rapley, my apologies. Thank you. It's your turn.
With the articles we've seen on the north end of the 12 Mile Creek, the cement factory, and all along that whole zone there, as you know, 12 Mile Creek up in the upper area where at source is one of the best areas that we have in the entire Niagara area regarding water quality, purity, etc. But this whole lower area there is a major hotspot, and it needs major work. And I see things referred to this province. You work with the province regarding a whole plan along there to really address this whole lower section. And as was mentioned earlier, some of the sediments and so on may be moving along. We have huge concern with articles in the paper, I think where the cement plant was and that type of thing. And what is the plan for there?
So, Director Kitay, is there any plan for along the 20 Mile Creek there? Even though I think we're a little bit off topic, but it's still part and parcel.
So through the chair, I wouldn't be able to speak to the work plan of the MOE. I'm not aware of works that they're undertaking for the entire 12 Mile Creek area. Any works resulting from this site, we will absolutely have the MOE's involvement in that.
Thank you.
Right.
Member Rapley?
So I guess we really need to find out from the province what is the plan for along there, because it's a real major concern in the region. From everything you see, the articles in the paper, the cement plant, all the way along that part of the river. And of course, it then moves north and goes down into those other areas with marshes and everything else that are involved there. I hike along there doing Christmas counts for the bird count and that type of thing. So it's an area a major area of concern in the province. So I think we need to somehow try to find out what the plans are, what's being done.
Okay, thank you. And I'm seeing Steve Miller writing fast and furious on that one. So we'll get back to you on that. Thank you. Any other questions for Director Kate, please? Seeing none, don't go very far, Director. We are going to go back to comments to the CAO, and we may be pulling you in just for a comment or two. I'm going to go back to Vice Chair McKenzie, please, for his comment.
Thank you, Chair Johnson, and thank you, Member Woodhouse, for bringing up the elephant in the room. In that testing has not been done on the soil, what's underneath this property. I'm very, very upset that in this province we have to wait for a rezoning or a redevelopment permit before levels of government to protect this community can move into a property to begin testing. And we've seen this time and time again through different former industrial sites. We're sitting on possibly a ticking, I don't want to use the expression, but I will, time bomb, because we don't know what's underneath there. Others would have a better idea. But just taking samples from the creek and from the air, that's like a doctor talking to me on the phone. My question through you to the CAO, our CAO, is there any role for the Conservation Authority to start discussions about how our communities and agencies can look after or look into where the real problems lie? One of the first things I thought of when I heard Member Woodhouse speak was Love Canal. Now, hopefully this isn't anywhere near this because this wasn't a chemical plant. But in Hamilton, there were a lot of chemical plants. And boy, there's problems, and there's problems in communities throughout Niagara. So I'm just, in brief, or in summation, very concerned that that governments do not go on to properties until some owner asks for it to be redeveloped. That scares me. Thank you, Chair Johnson.
Thank you. And you're looking for a comment from CAO, or is this for a future discussion?
I will leave it up for a future discussion because
Okay.
I don't want to put the CAO on the spot right now, but it's something that is always hovering over us.
Yeah, and it's private property, and that makes it the biggest white elephant in the room. So, Member Steele.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the CAO. With regards to the letter that we've received from St. Catharines, it's asking us to comment on the studies from the MOE. So how far are we in that, or is this something that will come back to the board with regards to your comments of the work that's been done to date?
CAO Sharma, or is this for Director Miller?
Director Miller can answer that, but we haven't started that. Steve, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, we're prepared to honor the city's request and review the report and provide comment.
Thank you. We haven't started yet. Member Steele, that's the answers. It's there, but
timeline to come back to us with that comment that we'll be sending to City of St. Catharines?
Through you, Madam Chair. I note that the report indicated that there were 2 additional samples taken from the subject site. The Conservation Authority would prefer to wait until the results of those 2 additional samples be provided to us so we could undertake a more fulsome review. It's unclear when those samples results will be provided.
Okay, good. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I saw Member Clark, and I think that's my last speaker so far. Member Clark?
So are the studies that have been completed by the city public documents?
So I think we're going to have to bring in the Director Kate into this. Are they public documents, Director Kate?
So through the chair to the member, everything that the city has undertaken so far in this to do with this property has been posted to the city's website under an action plan for the address. The city themselves have not undertaken any studies. We've been partnering with the MOE and the NPCA in this area. But yes, everything we've received to date has been publicly shared with council and the public.
Thank you, Member Clerk.
Including the results that were attached to your agenda today.
Thank you, Member Clerk.
And so it would be helpful if I could at least see those studies. So if the director or the CAO could share the links that I would go to find that, I think I'd be better informed then in terms of how we proceed. Were the studies just groundwater or were they boreholes in the road allowance around it?
Thank you. Director Kate?
Through the chair, the MOE's work undertaken was samples from 12 Mile Creek that was surface water runoff from the property, and then the air particulate testing was done downstream and upstream locations from the public right-of-way.
Thank you. Member Clerk?
So there has been no boreholes drilled by the province to see if there's an impact to the groundwater then?
Through the chair, yes, that's my understanding.
Thank you, Member Clerk.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So on the table right now, we have Member Steele, seconded by Member Woodhouse, to receive 4E with our thanks to Director Kate for attending this morning. Any opposition? Seeing none, thank you very much and have a wonderful day, Director. Thank you for joining us this morning. All right, folks, now we're on to presentations, and it is, let me just pull this up, sorry. We have a wonderful chair who is Jackie O'Black, who is the chair of the NPCA Public Advisory Committee. It's been my honor and pleasure to work with Jackie and the staff as well that are attached to this committee. Jackie, I saw you on earlier. I believe, I don't know if your video will be working this morning, but welcome. And I don't know if CAO Sharma has any other added comments.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. No, I just want to welcome Chair O'Black, and it's been a pleasure having her. I will let her speak, and if there's anything I need to respond to, I will do that after her address.
Thank you. A reminder, everybody, please mute all your mics. And welcome, Chair O'Black. How are you?
Thank you. Good morning. You can hear me okay?
Everything's great.
Oh, wonderful. It's always up to the internet gods, as we say. I notice I'm a bit dark, so my apologies. I won't bother turning on the light. It was very sunny a few minutes ago. I have just really come to provide a bit of information on the Public Advisory Committee. We've been very busy people, and I was asked to come and provide both a bit of information about myself, about the committee, and also to take a look at what we're doing, what we have been doing, and what we're planning on doing. So I will try and make this short just as much as anything, because we never know when I will disappear. We've learned that through experience. So to start off for myself, my background professionally, I worked in environmental management for a number of years, very broad range of experiences. I was principal author for Source Protection Assessment Report for Mississippi Valley and Rio Valley Conservation Authorities. So I do have some knowledge of source protection. I taught environmental education for Ottawa County District School Board for a number of years. I've worked for Algonquins of Ontario, putting together their American eel position paper and working on development reviews for them. I've worked for Mississippi Valley and environmental planning on Ottawa West area. Very interesting experience. IJC, I've put together reports on water governance on an international scale. So you can see there's, kind of a broad range throughout the environmental sector. my last large project prior to retiring was on climate change. We had a joint project between MNRF, NPCA, and RVCA. We did climate change research and provided local scale science for the area, which basically that science was developed and provided to both the public and municipalities and different governing bodies. And actually it's great. One of the things we said with that particular project was that we really did not want these studies. There were a number of studies within this larger project. We didn't want them to land on a shelf, and we've been mostly successful with that. It has been built on with that initial work, been adopted by a number of municipalities and the conservation authorities too. So they've been building on that initial science. And one of the things, just as an aside perhaps, that we found very early in starting to look at climate change and adaptation was that the better the watershed's health, the more resilient it would be to climate change. So I think that's something that's really important when we start to take a look at land use issues. Taking a look at the committee, as mentioned, I'm the environmental rep and currently chairing. The PAC has a very broad representation. We have representatives from Agriculture North and Ag South, obviously very different things that are happening and different concerns in different parts of Niagara. We have members from Chamber of Commerce, Tourism, First Nations, Métis, property owners, planning, urban and rural, users and volunteer reps, myself. We have development, and we do have a couple of public at large members as well. So there's quite a broad representation, which fits because we're here as in one of our large, our main mandates really is to take information from NPCA out and to be liaison, to share what NPCA is doing, but also to be liaison with voicing, I guess, and identifying issues that the public have in the broader community. So on that point, taking a look, I guess, at what we have done and what we are doing, I will go back to that in just a moment. We do have a work plan, Public Advisory Committee work plan, which has been put together for 2020 through 2022. And it covers really, again, a broad range of things. We have and will be taking a look at reports that are coming in from staff. I guess in many ways, we may be kind of the first stop with some of the information that's coming from staff on compliance and enforcement, planning, restoration and remediation, and engagement and outreach. We have a subcommittee on the floodplain mapping that's going on. So we're dealing with Steve with a subcommittee. And just trying to go through my work plan here. We have had the foundation come in and we've done some support with them as well. So there's quite a bit that we have done and are doing throughout the end of the year. And one of the things that we did do at our last meeting was that we basically set aside the work plan and had a discussion, really taking a look at what are some of the public issues that that are coming forward to us in the different sectors. in regards to both environment and NPCA. And, thoughts on perhaps what people thought NPCA should be doing to address some of these issues. The questions basically that we framed the discussion in was really from the perspective of your interest in environmental conservation, protection and sustainable land use in Niagara. What two issues do you feel are the most important? So that was for each sector. You think again of the number of sectors that are represented within the committee. How do these issues relate to NPCA, and how would you like to see the organization address them? Okay, and then just a couple more questions on other issues, but really we focused on those two issues during our discussion. So lots of amazing feedback. I have to just say, as an aside again, that this committee has an amazing amount of expertise and experience in it. And I would encourage you to take full advantage of what is there as much as possible, because frankly, I was blown away by the end of the meeting at just what people were bringing to the table. And this has been the challenge of COVID, is that we get to know people a certain amount, but we don't have those before and after chats. We don't have those informal meetings and chats that really help you to understand what people are bringing to the table, which was one of the incentives for framing this meeting around these questions. Very, very briefly, and this will come to a little bit more in the future, but taking a look at the importance of land use within the Niagara region, which sounds obvious, that's overarching. But from everyone, there were concerns, whether it was agriculture, First Nations, planning. Everyone really had this to say, that we needed to think carefully about protecting natural areas and using the lands that we do develop in a way that is as sustainable as possible and is just well planned, that there are strategies and there's thought behind it. And I think that as Niagara grows, that this is going to become more and more important. Wetlands, again, wetland protection, forest protection, certainly came through as being major issues, I think, from everyone. Decreasing biodiversity, loss of natural systems, and again, going back to the climate things I mentioned before, we lose more and more natural systems. And it's not just from a personal perspective, our anthropogenic approach that, yes, we're losing our trees and we're losing our nice places to walk, but certainly when we start to lose our green infrastructure, then we start to see that there are a lot of impacts on our gray infrastructure. So there are economic implications as well that really need to be understood and managed. So after this discussion, the committee did determine that we are going to put together a summary paper. That should be done, and we'll go to the committee at the next meeting, and hopefully will be passed or modified, etc. Once it has been accepted and everyone's happy with it, then that will be passed on to you as a board. I think it's a very good reflection of what is going on the public face of things. And I think it's very important for the board to have a good understanding, not only of the issues that come in front of you all the time, but also public perception, as well as public concerns. So that's, in a nutshell, what we are doing, what we have been doing. And certainly, if there's any questions, then I will try and address them.
Thank you very much. Jackie, and I think everybody can agree that this community is in very good hands under your tutelage. I see Member Fior has a comment or a question. So Member Fior, you're up.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Jackie. Just a comment of thanks for sharing your words with us today. I like what you said. I think we should take this away and maybe write it down on a Post-it note. The better the watershed's health, the more resilient we are to climate change. And that's a key point. So I look forward to the summary paper, and I thank you and PAC for your service to our community.
Thank you.
Well said. Well said. Good for you. Any other comments? Member Hewson.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Ms. O'Black. Thank you for your leadership on our committee. And I guess this is actually more a question for staff, but as we're undertaking this public information and input gathering as part of our strategic planning process, I just hope that will also be, that opportunity is extended to our public advisory committee. It's clear that they have a lot of great input that they can help us inform that process.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Chair O'Black before we receive? So Jackie, with our appreciation for a job well done, you are an amazing chair, and given all the challenges with our COVID situation and our technology, you have come through like a champ. So thank you so much for everything, and we look forward to more reports from you and the committee. So it's been moved by Member Beatty, second by Member Wright, with our appreciation for a job well done, to receive Chair O'Black's presentation. And I don't believe there would be any opposition to this. So thanks again, Jackie, for taking time out of your day again for the NPCA. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. And we are now moving on. There are no delegations today. We're going on to consent items. So we have before you 7A. This is report number FA 18-21. This is regarding the NPCA Communications and Marketing 2020 year-end summary. And this is to receive. Are there any questions or concerns right now for 7A? Seeing none, it's been moved by Member Brady, second by Member Clark. Any opposition? Seeing none, thank you. We're moving on now to report number FA 19-21. This is the Wayne Fleek Bog Pathway Designation. It is moved, and I'm going to have Member Cridlin move this one, but given that this is in her area, and it's seconded by Member Kuhn-Peterson, who is still online with us. Are there any questions, concerns, or opposition to receiving this? Seeing none, thank you very much. And so now we're moving on to discussion items. This is the restoration projects approval, folks. Report number FA 13-21. I believe it would be our Lise Gagnon would be on board for this. If so, Chair, CAO Sharma. I have Member Fior, seconded by Member Foster, to put it on the table. And CAO Sharma will direct this to the staff if anyone has any questions. Member Cridlin.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, just to staff. Just the comments about how ones that we're not able to get to perhaps in 2021, we're going to be holding them and waiting, and we're going to hold them over till 2022. So I just want to clarify that they'll have to be all reapproved. If they're in the queue, they may still get bumped if there's other ones in the next intake. So it's not a given that any of these pending ones are going to go forward. So if we could if I've got that wrong, maybe we clarify that now, and otherwise, just so going forward, we know what's going to happen with the rest of the list. Thank you.
So CAO Sharma, do you want to direct that to the correct staff, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have our restoration project lead, Steve Gillis here. He can respond to this.
Thank you. Mr. Gillis, are you online?
I'm actually replacing.
Oh, we have Stuart McPherson with us today. Thank you, Stuart. Go ahead.
Sorry. Chair, you're correct, Cridlin, that these projects, if there's space this year and we can do them, we'll do them. If they get bumped to next year, they'll have to be reevaluated and compared with everything else that comes in the late fall.
Okay, thank you. Member Cridlin?
No,
all done?
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Beatty?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just a comment first. Last year, I raised the question of there are very few projects in Hamilton, and Hamilton pays a lot of money to be part of this organization. And I would ask staff, could they make a better effort, or have they made an effort to get more projects for restoration in the Hamilton part of the watershed? Thank you.
CAO Sharma?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'll direct the question to Jeff or Kate, who is leading our restoration program.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
There he is.
Sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Through you, Chair Johnson, we did market in Hamilton last year. It went into some periodicals and there was some radio advertisement as well. Part of this is due to the nature of the voluntary uptake of this. So we're not receiving as many applications as we'd hope for Hamilton. So we're learning about our marketing strategies and we're refocusing that slightly this year as well. And we will be putting more attention in Hamilton as well.
Member Beatty?
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Member Houston?
Thank you, Chair. Really just a tip for board members. I always share this out on my social media to help bring attention to these deadlines. And I think it helps bring awareness that this program exists and maybe helps foster some applications and make sure it's utilized. So I would encourage other board members to also do something similar, just to bring attention to our communities that these exist. And, you know, the NPCA wants to do restoration projects across the watershed.
Thank you. And I can also confess I do the same. So any other questions before we approve 8A? Sorry, CAO Sharma, I see your fingers moving, but I don't hear you.
I just wanted to add through you, Madam Chair, as you recall, we purchased a property next to Binbrook and staff are actively working on restoring that site. If it's not through this program, there are other things happening. We're also working through OPG to make sure that we can use some of that money to restore sites in Hamilton part of our watershed. So we take care of each and every part of the watershed equally, believe me, and it's based on science.
Thank you. So I think we have moved it. It is moved by Member Brady and seconded by Member, no, sorry, it is moved by Member Crid. Wait a minute, where am I now? Member Fiora and seconded by Member Foster. My apologies, folks. You want to see what my paper looks like right now? Any opposition? Seeing none, thank you. It's carried. We're on to 8B now. This is the NPCA appointments to the foundation. This is, we have oh no, I believe we're going to make this as a motion at the very end, correct? We're not going to put this in here in this situation, sorry. My apologies, folks. As I said, I was given two different. So we're going right on now to the committee reports. So the Finance Committee report, we have the minutes we're going to receive first, and then I'm going to refer to Member Kewal. So can we put those on the table just to receive the minutes, please? And we'll have Member Kewal move those and Member Halinga seconding those. I see Member Halinga is back online. To receive the minutes, any opposition to receiving them? And I don't see any, so we'll move on. And it's moved by so now we would like to just discuss There are two reports that we just wanted to highlight, and I'm going to, one is the procurement report and the other one is the banking and investments report. These are just to highlight them. They're not really to receive. We've already received them through the minutes. So Member Kaywall, is there any comments that you would like to make first before I move over to our financial wizard, Lise?
No, thank you. I think Director Gagnon can take us through this.
Thank you. Director Gagnon.
Yes, through you, Chair Johnson. So the first report is that of procurement activity for 2020.
Sorry, Lise, Lise, sorry, you are cutting in and out. Could you shut your video off? Maybe that would be helpful. Go ahead.
Is that better?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay. Yes, my bandwidth is not all that stable here either. So, okay, speaking to the first report, which is that of procurement for procurement activity rather for 2020, we have committed as a staff to bring a report forward to the Finance Committee and later to the board, outlining some of the specific areas of procurement that we wanted to highlight. The first of which would be that of non-competitive procurement transactions for 2020, so that the board is aware of any sole source activity and the rationale for that. Those items are detailed on page 2, and there are 3 transactions conducted in a non-competitive procurement or environment for 2020, and they are highlighted there on page 2, and I'm happy to answer any questions. The next item is that of CAO approval of capital project transactions in excess of $100,000 for board approved projects. Again, there are 3 of those for 2020. They're outlined on the top of page 3. And we wanted to bring to this group's attention, or to the board's attention, the idea that we cooperate, or we are involved with cooperative procurement where it's at all possible. We are members of 5 group purchasing organizations, and we usually try to we go to these group purchasing organizations initially to try to leverage buying power and efficiencies through this particular channel. We have entered into several collaborative agreements leveraging the competitive procurement that's been done by the group purchasing organizations, and they are detailed on page 3. And that's it. Happy to answer any questions members may have.
Thank you. Any questions on the procurement report within the Finance Committee meetings? Seeing none, thank you very much for that overview. We're going on now to the banking and investments. I think that Director Gagnon, you wanted to just highlight some things in that as well.
Certainly. Thank you, Chair Johnson. So report FA 1521 details a snapshot of the banking and investment activity and balances as of December 31st, 2020. It's a short report. It outlines where our bank balances are. I'd like to highlight the fact that staff has moved balances from some of the from the CIBC and the Meridian accounts into the Bank of Montreal to maximize interest revenue, given that the CIBC and Meridian are not interest bearing. And our investments, which is essentially our reserves, are outlined in the second box and provide for an increase of 1.9%, given that our investments are in safe, conservative instruments. You won't see a large interest revenue, but we certainly were able to generate $84,000 in 2020. Again, happy to answer any questions members may have.
Any questions right now before we move on to the next item? Seeing none, thank you very much, Director. And now we're on to, this is part of the report, FA 1621. This is the award of legal services standing offer of agreement. So this needs approval. And right now I have Member Houston moved, but seconded by Member Angreo. Are there any questions or concerns about that report to approve? Vice Chair McKenzie, you sort of tentatively put your fingers up. I was waiting. Vice Chair McKenzie.
Sorry, Chair Johnson, my question refers back to the previous item on the investments. I can wait until you finish this. I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead. Maybe that's why this took so long for. Here he comes.
Hi.
No, go ahead.
Lost connection there, Chair Johnson. I apologize.
No worries. Just leave your video off. That might help.
Yes. May I ask my question now?
Sure. Go ahead.
This is through you to Lise. The $84,000 in interest that was earned in the investment, does that money go into the budget, or does it rotate back into the investment account? How do we deal with that in the following year? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, through you, Chair Johnson, to Member McKenzie. The interest is reinvested with the principal for the next cycle. From an operating standpoint, the interest income is allocated to each reserve in tandem with the ratio of the reserve to the total. So each reserve will increase by their proportionate share of that interest revenue on an annual basis.
Thank you. Member McKenzie? Okay, thank you. So again, we're back to the legal services standing offer. I have Member Houston, seconded by Member Ingrao, to approve the report. And seeing no opposition, I'm just going to wait a little bit longer because everybody's having some bandwidth problems here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a delay in this. Not seeing any. Thank you. It's been approved. So now we're moving on to the Finance Committee again, report number FA1721. This is for approval, please, for the 2021 work plan. I have it Vice Chair McKenzie and seconded by Member Metcalf. I don't know if Member Metcalf, yes, I can still see him online. Any opposition, any comments, any questions? Okay, thank you. And maybe we should have done this while Jackie was here, but this is the next is the Public Advisory Committee. This is to receive the minutes of the Public Advisory Committee meeting dated February 25th, 2021. And I have Member Rapley, and it's seconded by Member Steele. Any questions or comments about the PAC meetings? The minutes from the February 25th. Seeing none, thank you. That has been moved. So now we're on to motions. Vice Chair McKenzie, you have a notice of motion. Would you like to introduce your notice of motion of the Community Connecting Trails, please?
I'm sorry, Chair Johnson. I was having technical problems. Were you directing that?
Yeah, so the notice of motion, would you like to introduce it so that we can move it as a motion at the next meeting, or unless you want to waive the rules and move it this meeting? But I was assuming you were waiting for next meeting to bring it as a full motion. But you can introduce it this meeting.
I apologize. Can you hear me, Chair Johnson?
Yes, sir, I can. Okay, you're on.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Okay, now you've muted yourself, sir, or you're offline. I see that he's offline. Does everybody have a copy of this notice of motion? No. Okay, Vice Chair McKenzie, I see you.
Can you hear me now?
I can. If you still want to turn off your video, that might help. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, very well.
Yes, and I think you were asked, I just heard about the trails motion.
Yes, sir. This is your connecting trails motion, notice of motion. We just want to introduce it today so we can have it on the agenda for next month. It's just a formality.
Yes, and I'm not prepared to introduce the motion today.
No.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity, though.
Okay.
I would like to introduce the motion a month from now.
Okay.
And I would like to thank. Okay.
Yep. Nope. That sounds wonderful. Okay. So it's going to be just to let our executive coordinator know, Grant, we're going to table this notice of motion to the next meeting, please. So now we're on to motions, please. And we have a motion, and it's an NPCA appointment to the foundation. So I think it's under, sorry, Member Hewson.
Can I just get clarification? I think for notice of motion, it just means that Member McKenzie is presenting his motion at the next meeting, correct?
So the notice of motion should be as a public record right now, so everyone will have a whole month to look it over. You don't have that notice, you don't have that motion in front of you at all, so it's going to have to come through as a notice of motion in the next meeting.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That's why, sorry, that's why it was tabled. I thought that the motion would have been was ready, but it was on my fault, nobody else's. It's my confusion. So we're moving on to now the motion for the NPCA Foundation. And I believe it's Member Foster, if I got that right, was going to move the motion, please, sir.
Yep.
Can you read it out, or?
Oh,
thanks. We're just going to guess today, are we?
I'm acting today too. So our motion is, whereas it has been determined the CAO, Chief Administrative Officer, Secretary Treasurer of the NPCA, will participate as an ex officio member on the board of Niagara Peninsula Conservation Foundation, and another authority board member needs to be appointed to fill the second director position on the foundation. Let it be resolved that board member Donna Cridlin be appointed to the board of directors of the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Foundation, with reaffirmation to occur at the annual general meeting of the NPCA in June of 2021, and further that the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Foundation be so advised. So just to let you guys know on this particular issue, the thought process is that Chandra has really been quite tied up with doing what it is that we need to have done at the NPCA board level, as well as within the NPCA itself. And so the thinking process is that it would be better to have a second person from our board rather than Chandra being actively involved at the foundation level. So, and Donna has graciously put her name forward for this consideration. So I hope this will be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you, and I believe it's seconded by Member Cridlin, is it not, or who's it seconded by? Okay, Member Fiore is going to second that motion. And Member Cridlin, would you have any comments, or you're agreed to this position, right? We're not
Thank you, I'm agreed, and it's a privilege.
Thank you. So you're not being voluntold. So are there any questions, comments, or any opposition to this motion? Seeing none, thank you very much, everybody.
Can I also add, Member Johnson or Chair Johnson, just a few other comments? So the foundation is going to be going through a significant a number of things in the next while. We now have a full-time person that is responsible from a coordination point of view for us, and so there's a bunch of projects that we're currently working on. We do have the memorandum of understanding coming up again this fall that we have to figure out between the NPCA and the foundation itself. And also we're on a recruiting mission with 4 members on to the foundation itself. So there's going to be more information coming from that likely in our May meeting as we're moving along. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone before we go to CAO's Chandra's Sharma's update? Seeing, oh, sorry, Member Foster, not done yet?
Yeah, not done yet. Oh, no, I'm still acting. The so the thing is, or just to let everybody know, the town of Lincoln has been on a heritage designation movement. And one of the areas that they're looking at is Balls Falls. Over the years, Balls Falls has not particularly had what we consider to be appropriate designation within it. There are some issues with it as in and around both national and Ontario pieces of the puzzle, but the area itself really does require some additional review from a heritage point of view. So just to let you know that that's coming down the road. I know staff have been looking at this, and I know the municipality itself has been looking at it as well. This isn't going to happen overnight, but this is something that long term makes sense both for the NPCA and for the municipality. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just want to let you know, we did meet about that, and the staff are very excited to work with the municipality on the designation. So we're very supportive. Member Hewson?
Thank you. One clarification, Chair. In the earlier report from St. Catharines on the 12-Mile Creek, I realized we had asked to see the reports, but St. Catharines had also asked for comments. I'm just wondering when, as a board, we can expect to see that information. Would that be in our next meeting?
Sorry, I missed the last sentence.
I'm just asking when we can expect to see that information, if it would be coming forward at our next board meeting.
Thank you. CAO Sharma, do you have a comment?
Through you, Chair, to Member Hewson, we will make an attempt to bring them to the board as the timelines are more clear to us from the city. So we'll make sure that when we provide our comments to the city, they are appended to any future board meeting.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. And Chair, one final thing I wanted to mention, and I think this will probably tie into Member McKenzie's motion, which I'm excited to see. There was some federal funding allocated specifically for trails and trail networks. So I hope that staff can take a look at that and determine if there is an opportunity for us to maybe tap into some of that funding. Or maybe it'll align with Member McKenzie's motion in our next meeting.
I'm seeing CAO Sharma shaking her head.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so we can now go to CAO Sharma for for a verbal update on how things are going. It sounds like so far after that video today, everything's fabulous. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna take a minute, Madam Chair, here. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these ongoing updates. I just have a few items today. The first item on my list is a call for nominations for 2021 Conservation Awards of Merit for NPCA volunteers. Every year, as you are aware, we host a conservation award in honor of volunteers who dedicate their time to the Conservation Authority projects. Due to the pandemic this year, we are not able to host this award function in February. So what we are going to do is still proceeding with 2021 Conservation Awards, Awards of Merit. Members and public are invited to submit nominations. Public can go online and look for that, and we'll be circulating the link to members after this meeting. And we encourage everyone to please reach out into the community and nominate worthy candidates for this award. Speaking about Lincoln, Member Foster was mentioning the heritage importance of Balls Falls. I'm really pleased to say that Town of Lincoln is hosting a hyper-local tourism initiative called Wanderlust. Wanderlust. The program will be marketed to residents of the watershed, and it's intended to promote local economic activity and staycation mindset. I'm really pleased that Balls Falls has been picked by the town to serve as a host activation site for a virtual reality experience at the Big Barn, where families can visit conservation areas. They'll welcome to a walk through the barn with experience to experience a touch-free interactive light display. Town staff will be manning that with full safety precautions. So we are really pleased about that partnership. In our effort to continue our outreach to municipal partners and our community, Member Johnson and NPCA staff met with the Welland River Floodplain Association a few weeks back. It was a follow-up to their letter to the board. And they've made some good suggestions that staff will be following up on. I'm also really pleased to inform that I'm right now in the process of meeting with our fellow regional and local municipal CAOs, just in an effort to better understand our collective priorities and desired area of collaboration. And this is also my advance notice of Bill 229, Memorandum of Understanding, Service Level Agreements, and municipal levy regulations coming down the pipe, and the work we will need to do together with our municipal partners. So those discussions are going. I met 3 of them in the past month or so. I also met with staff with the Niagara Land Trust Association. They have requested a meeting, and that went really well. Trout Unlimited Canada has been working with our staff. They're launching their first public information session for the Upper 12 Mile Creek Action Plan that they're working on. It's on March 30th from 7 until 8:30 p.m. via Zoom. And members, people can go to their website, Trout Unlimited, or our website will also have that information posted. I think finally, I'm really proud to say that our strategic planning process is going really well with full staff participation and leadership across the board from the organization and with direction from the strategic planning committee. Engaging with stakeholders is a key component of that plan. So a public stakeholder survey will be launched in the coming week. And we will be gathering stakeholder and public input to the first phase of our work, and there'll be more engagement opportunities coming down the pipe at a later date. With that, those are the things I really wanted to update the board on, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for our CAO at this time? Thank you. Member Cridlin, sorry.
No, thank you, through you, Chair. I think there's a survey right now going on for the quarry, and I just wondered if you could maybe comment on the uptake that you're getting for the survey. Is it what we're expecting? Is it better or less? I don't think the survey is closed yet, but maybe just an update on that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you. CAO?
Thank you, Member Cridland. I reported on that survey at during my last update. The survey is still open. I think our communication staff have taken a sneak peek of what's happening. I'll ask Renee if she's still with us to maybe respond to that.
Good morning, Renee.
Good morning. Through you, Chair, to Member Cridland. We currently have had 370 contributors, which is quite high. That actually is more contributors than our last strategic plan a few years ago. And the pie chart is quite pleasing to look at. We have had respondents from every municipality we would have hoped for. And we've had 553 visitors to the page itself. So that demonstrates that there are people that are coming to the page and informing themselves about the project, and that 374 have chosen to fill out the survey. And the survey is still open until March 22nd.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's all good news. Any other questions and comments for our CAO, please? Seeing none, thank you very much. It was moved by, lost my spot here, Member Rapley and seconded by Member Steele to receive the CAO's update. Any opposition? I'm going to assume no, so we can move on. Thank you. That's carried. So, folks, right now, we need to go into closed session for a proposed or pending
Excuse me,
acquisition.
if you
Oh, I'm
can hear
sorry.
me
My
now.
apologies. Oh, there you are. Thank you, Member Halinga. I promised I would come back to you before we went into closed session. Go ahead.
Okay, this is related to item 4D. And if I lose you again, then I apologize, but seems everyone is having bandwidth issues this morning.
Yeah.
I believe item 4D was initiated by the city of Port Colborne, and the designation of the aquifer in Port Colborne and requesting some input.
We lost you again, Jack.
I want to suggest that it's quite evident that there was input from the NPCA through. Oh, okay, I'm still here.
Yeah,
Just
I
put
hear
your
you.
hand
Keep
up.
going.
Okay.
Keep going.
And so I want to thank Darren McKenzie, who is no longer with NPCA, and also Tom Prox for their input to this report to support the region. I think this report does quite a bit, and it says a lot. And I would encourage other municipalities, principally Wainfleet and Fort Erie, to take the same initiatives as the city of Port Colborne. And I think I'll refer to Member Steele to explain what Port Colborne is undertaking, and would also say that there are more than just the South Aquifer municipalities involved, because if you look at the map attached to the report, there are aquifers in every municipality in Niagara, and they should all be protected accordingly. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I think you mentioned Member Steele to make a comment. So I'm just going to go to Member Steele for a comment, and then we're going to go into closed session. Member Steele?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to Member Halinga. So this report's actually come to Council a couple times with some changes based on public input and some councillors' input. And so it is coming back to us to approve. And we're hoping that'll be back shortly. We're not sure of a date because our planner right now is on a leave. And we're getting our other planner to look at this and finish this off. But there are some comments coming from some of the businesses within the city with regards to this report. So we're just waiting for those to come in to hopefully finalize it, because it's been bantied about for about the last 3 months. So, you know, we do want to put it to bed and get it on the books and keep our water safe. Obviously, it's not just the city water that we worry about, it is the well water also. So you'll be probably copied on this once it gets passed by the city, just so that the NPCA knows what we've done with regards to the aquifer in Port Colborne. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, folks, we are going to go in camera, and I'm going to defer to our Director of Corporation to rhyme off the official reason. I believe I just want to make sure I read this properly. Grant, if I don't, then you can correct me. I need a motion to go into closed session, for this is a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land. So it is going to be moved by member, I'm just trying to see, okay, Vice Chair McKenzie, and seconded by Member Clark, that we go into closed session. Any opposition? Seeing none, thank you very much. So we have a couple of instructions here. Number one, to the public, we are not going to resume recording coming out, I believe, out of this meeting, so you won't need to hang in there. Number two, everyone, please make sure you're in an enclosed area. If you have headsets on, please put them on. It just keeps the integrity of the closed session intact. And